Okay, everyone, just before this episode starts, please click the subscribe button. Basically, it just helps us get found by more people who listen to the podcasts if you click the subscribe button. And of course, it doesn't cost you anything. It literally takes 1 second. So please go and do that. Really appreciate that. You can also listen to these episodes on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, wherever you listen to podcasts. You can support and get access to early access to all the episodes that we do and all the interviews we do by supporting us on Patreon. So go to patreon.com/thelegitpodcast. The link is below in the description. And finally, if you could follow us on social media, that'd be brilliant. Instagram, it's The Legit Podcast, and Twitter, it's The Legit Podcast. So links will be below as well to that. Enjoy this episode. Okay, we're live.
Boom. Zach, nice one for coming on, mate.
Pleasure. Nice one for having me.
Thank you very much. Much appreciated.
So I've been told to get you on about 2 or 3 different people, so your legend precedes yourself.
Yeah, I've been wondering when I was going to find
the phone call was coming.
Yeah.
It's been crazy times, hasn't it?
I knew it was coming at one point.
Yeah. So we've got a couple of mutual friends. So mate, I'm glad you're first and foremost here. To be honest as well, I know a little bit about you from Instagram and stuff, but when I knew you were definitely coming on, I kind of held back a little bit of finding out too much because I wanted to know more about it from yourself.
Okay.
So where obviously you've got an interesting life which we'll find, but what was it then kind of, in fact let's go before that. Where did you grow up? North End or South End?
I grew up, okay. I grew up in Wavertree. Mill Lane, Wavertree.
Yeah.
Went to North Wight Primary School, and from there I moved on to Bluecoat. So I was lucky enough to pass the test to get into Bluecoat. And
is that a posh school, is it?
Yeah, well,
Tom went to a posh school.
It's a very academic school, you know, so I was actually a little bit gutted to go there at first before I went there, because I had to like say goodbye to all my old mates.
Yeah.
But it ended up like, now I couldn't be happier about it really. Like it just put me on a good path, you know. So
yeah, Tom went to a private school, didn't you, Tom?
Yeah, in sort of Scaresbury way.
Yeah, no, it's not quite private though, Bluecoat.
Is it not?
No.
Not as posh as Tom.
Just very academic.
We spoke about your school once or something, and Tom said about playing tennis, and then we got like messages the next time saying, fucking Tom playing tennis.
Oh, not as posh as Tom.
So what was the aspirations after school and that then, mate?
So, with it being an academic school, the general idea was university following school. I ended up doing a law degree. I was really focused throughout my GCSEs, but when A-levels came, I don't know, you hit a point like 16, 17, 18, and you start thinking that you're old enough to break out of this academic lifestyle and whatever. Well, I did. So anyway, I lost a bit of focus. I still ended up doing a law degree, and I was in my final year of that law degree when I eventually got injured. So unfortunately, I've spent all these years of my life in like higher level education, let's say. But got nothing to show for it now at this point. I don't have a degree because I broke my back when I was just about to start my final year.
Fucking hell.
So
Which would have been like 21, 20?
I've never been back to do that. 22 I was.
Was it 22? Yeah.
I failed my first year in uni. I kept that out then, but...
Yeah. Mate, first year in uni, like,
They told me I only needed 40% to get through, you know what I mean?
So I remember
you're not
that.
gonna like give it all you've got if you think it's only 40.
Yeah. How mad's that I remember that 40%, yeah. I remember first year just doing, everyone does fuck all, like,
exactly.
40% is all you got to do, isn't
but
it?
it was a bit of a kick up the arse for me as well,
yeah,
you know,
I
thought, right, okay, I better knuckle down here. And I did anyway, and I was on for a 2-1, John Moore's.
Yeah.
I was on for a 2-1. I initially wanted to do journalism, but I don't know, being a super academic school, it was like, the focus was like people were doing medicine, law.
Really, yeah.
Like, yeah, just, you know.
It's good though you're in that surrounding now, innit? Because it's obviously pushing you on to bigger, better things.
Yeah, it was great. But anyway, that's what I did, and unfortunately, I never got the degree. I actually went back. It must have been about a year after my accident. I attempted to finish the year. This is before, like, we'll go on to this, finding my physio centre in Cambridge and whatever, but before I set off on this journey that I'm now on, I attempted to finish the final year law degree, but unfortunately, I just wasn't. I remember going to like my first couple of lectures and just thinking like, this is not the right time and place for me right now. No, so
I went through something similar in that sense where after I got injured, I remember being in hospital. Not my initial injury, but I went out for a bit and ended up going back into hospital. And I somehow thought, because I dropped out of A-levels, and I thought I'll do an open university course.
Yeah.
And again, I just started that and was like, what the fuck am I doing it? Like, my head was just not in it whatsoever. Like, maybe like 6 months after my injury or something, a year or so, I was just like, nah, this isn't fucking happening.
Yeah, it's not for me kind of thing.
No.
I enjoyed it. I did, and I was into it, like what I was studying. And I potentially saw a path in that field as well. I was looking to do my LPC next, my legal practice course. But yeah, like I said, that day just never came around, and then ultimately what ended up happening, it just changed my direction in life.
And what eventually happened?
I broke my back. I shattered my spine. So I sustained a spinal cord injury, and how that happened was we went to a music festival in 2012 called Bestival, and
Isle of Wight, isn't it?
On the Isle of Wight, yeah. It was unbelievable. It was one of the best weekends of our lives. And then we got on a coach to come back. Got back on the English mainland, and about an hour into the journey we were on the motorway, and coach was travelling full speed, and just completely out of nowhere the front left tyre exploded. Huge explosion. The bus dropped a level, and then within two seconds before you could even think really, we'd went off the motorway. The driver lost control, and there was a huge oak tree, like a 400-year oak tree, on the side of the road. So we hit that at full speed, head on. I was sat on the front row, but on the aisle side.
Yeah. And
then one of my best mates, Michael Molloy, was sat on my right hand side, and the impact of the tree was direct on with everybody on my right hand side. So the driver Michael and our friend Kerry behind Michael lost their lives, and somehow I didn't. I wasn't wearing a seatbelt at the time. So what happened was I got thrown out of the windscreen on impact with the tree.
Fucking hell.
So it was proven in there was a legal case afterwards and whatever, obviously. So it's a fact that if I would have had that belt on, then I wouldn't have been thrown out of the situation, and I would have lost my life too. So
fucking hell, man.
It depends what way you look at the situation, you know. I'm really unlucky to have been in that situation in the first place, obviously, but I'm just as lucky to come out of that situation in one piece.
So how many were on the bus in total?
50. Basically 50 people.
And obviously everyone on their stuff, was there just the 3 fatalities, was there?
3 fatalities. My injury was the only life-changing injury, as they call it. But there was a hell of a lot of other heavy injuries too, all over the bus. People suffered different types of injuries.
Is this the same incident where they've just won their case to have tyres?
Yeah.
Is that case, is it?
Yeah.
Fucking hell. I seen that this week in the Echo.
Yeah.
What was that?
That's Michael's mum who's fighting.
Oh wow! I had no. You know what? I didn't even put them together.
Battle. Yeah. No, I thought you knew that. No. So we went down to the festival together. Yeah. And so that's where Tired has came from.
Yeah, the charity.
Could you just explain that? Because I'm not. What is that charity? Sorry.
Tired.
And then the
campaign wasn't it?
Campaign.
Yeah, Tired's a campaign. Michael's mum has been fighting the government for a change in the law, because ultimately what happened after my injury, there was an inquest, and we found out that the cause of the accident was the age of the tyre. The tyre was 20 years old. The tyre was older than Michael.
Fucking hell.
And
they were using old tyres, weren't they, or something? You could coach companies could buy old tyres or something, wasn't it?
Yeah, basically there was no law to say, you can't have a 20-year-old tyre.
Right.
So what the campaign is about introducing a law with a cap of 10 years. So anything over 10 years is deemed illegal.
Illegal, yeah.
But unfortunately, in this situation, the law hadn't been implemented yet.
Bloody hell! And it took 8 years for that since 2012, in essence,
for that to happen. Yeah.
Bloody hell!
And there's been other incidents since.
Really?
Francis has been to I think it was Bristol recently, to meet another mum who's just lost a daughter last year. Same thing. So since Francis has been fighting against this, it's happening again, and she's been saying, like, look, this will happen again, and it did.
Bloody hell!
So that's Tired. That's what
incredible,
Tired's about.
Fighting for that, yeah.
And Francis has been unbelievable over the last few years.
Have you managed to stay in touch with? Obviously, was it Michael? You said your friend. Have you stayed in touch with his mum? And
of course. Yeah, of course. His mum and his brothers. I was with his brother the other day.
Yeah.
Michael's one of my best mates. So yeah, of course.
Fucking hell, mate. That's fucking. So when's this? The summer of 2012 then?
So it's September 2012. Yeah.
Can you remember much? You probably get asked this a lot, but do you remember much from that day? As in after that, like after obviously the bus had the accident, or is it complete blur until you wake up in the hospital? Or
no, I can remember. I was awake at the time, just thinking in general, because the situation was we were on the front row, so we had this like huge screen in front, this windscreen in front of us, and I was kind of just focused in on like the cat eyes, in the motorway, just lights, and I was thinking to myself, because we'd had a good summer, and that summer I first discovered like music festivals, proper music festivals, and I fell in love with them. I couldn't believe how much fun we were having. It was amazing. We just wanted to go to more and more. So anyway, Bestival was the last one of the summer, and I remember thinking to myself at the time, like, okay, the summer's over now. It's the 10th of September, so your final year law degree starts in like 5 days. So it's time to screw your head back on, and I was training a lot at the time anyway. I always have since I was a kid. But I'd had a little bit of time off over summer. So I was thinking to myself, okay, let's get back into your training. Let's screw your head back into your education. And just as I was going through all of that process in my head, explosion. It was like. I don't know how to describe.
Did it like slow down? Did it for you, or like almost? When they talk about things happening in slow motion? Because I only ask because when I talk about getting blown up, it obviously didn't happen like this. But I remember now hearing the two bangs, and then I maybe tricked myself into thinking I kind of tensed up, but I fucking never, because it happened that quick. But I can think back now and going like. No doubt in never, because it happened so quickly, but it was like it slowed down, do you know what I mean?
Yeah. So my recollection would be, I don't know. I mean, it was just so fast, and I think it was so surreal as well. Like, I didn't fully have time to process what was going on, but I think that there was a moment that flashed through my head when I kind of braced myself to like to lose my life. When we went off the road, because I remember seeing like green. It was a crash, obviously, when we went off the road. I think we went up an embankment. But like I said, it just happened that fast. We were travelling at full speed. So yeah, it just happened so fast, and then I lost consciousness. As of the moment of impact with the tree, I lost consciousness for about, it must be about, I don't know, 20 minutes or something. And I remember coming round outside the bus at this point, and I'm in my mate's arms, and I'm just screaming as loud and as dramatic as I possibly could. I could never reenact the way I was screaming, but it was the word no, just repeatedly over and over again, just, and I knew what had happened. I could feel the most intense pain throughout my whole body where I'd broke my back, but on top of that I couldn't move the lower half of my body at this point. It was completely dead. So you know, although it was this like huge traumatic time, I still had enough sense to figure out I've broken my back and I'm paralysed. So for that reason, you know, you've been through the same kind of thing yourself. You know, it's devastation, isn't it? At that point, really, it was with me.
We had Jamie Burdick. Do you know Jamie Burdick? He's a scouser who was involved in a car accident, and he told us a similar story, didn't he? Where when the crash happened to him, he just knew straight away, couldn't feel his legs, and he's the same as you. Just that he had enough kind of mind to go. He knew it was like, yeah, that's it.
Yeah. So there was a fella I knew when I was growing up who broke his neck in a scrum in rugby, and he's the first person who came into my head as well. So like I said, yeah, I just knew. But at this point, I was really weak, and I remember saying to me mate, I was like struggling for breath. I broke all my ribs as well, and I broke my back in two places. My T8, I don't know if you know, but the spine is split up into different segments. You have your cervical section at the top where your neck is, and then we have thoracic, and then we have lumbar. So the 8th vertebrae in the thoracic section, I broke that T8. But then where the spinal cord injury was my L1. So at the bottom of my back. Before I get to that, what I was about to say anyway was I was in my mate's arms, and I was losing breath, you know, and I said to him, I'm gonna die. And obviously it wasn't as calm as the way I've just said it now, but I was fading. And he was like screaming at me saying that the helicopter's coming now, you know, stay with us. And I do remember, I remember closing my eyes and almost like not giving up as such, but you're at a point where like your body is like, there's nothing you can really do at that point, you know. And I don't know how. I only met Jake in the festival, but we had a good connection. But you know, he's potentially saved me life there at that point. Another one of my best mates said he was watching that moment, and he said I watched and you was about to go.
Fuck. Just for that encouragement.
Somehow he's kept me there. He's just kept me like conscious in some way. And then the next thing I knew, the helicopter landed, and then as soon as you're in their hands, you know, that's definitely a step forwards, isn't it, in that situation? So
it's so fucking it, mate. You telling that is exactly how I felt.
Is it? Yeah.
Like lying there, obviously, like I'd severed my femoral artery, so they say you can bleed death within like 6 minutes. They put a tourniquet on, and like they'd done everything they could. It was just waiting for the helicopter, and like my mate Sharp, he was going, mate, the helicopter's here now, come on, stick with it. And like you said, I was just felt tired at this point. I was just like, yeah, okay. And they're like, come on, keep talking. And I'm like, just felt drained. And then, like I say, the helicopter, and I remember getting put on this helicopter, and I just felt this like relief of like, I'm gonna survive. Like, I'm in there at hands now.
Yeah.
What I can't get my head around for you, mate, is obviously because I was in Afghanistan, it was a military operation. From the second I got blown up, I knew there'd be help on its way. Like it took 40 minutes in the end, but there's procedures in place.
Yeah.
I can only imagine one of the scariest things, just in my mind now for you, is you're in a fucking motorway, aren't you?
Yeah, you're just like in the middle of nowhere.
You're just waiting on like someone to ring, and then it's like, obviously when you're in the military, when you're in Afghanistan, it's like we're at grid reference 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Yeah.
You're just hoping that someone knows what fucking junction we're at. It's
and panic as well.
Panic, yeah. And in the military, you're used to these situations happening all the time. Again, and what was that like, knowing that there's no kind of procedure in place?
I don't know. I don't think I had time to think about that, because I mean, obviously before the crash happened, I was never thinking that was going to happen. So like I could never have like rehearsed for wherever my head was going to be. So I think that it was just that much of a dramatic, traumatic thing going on. I didn't really even have time to think about that, like who's phoned an ambulance at that point, or like what everyone else is doing.
Yeah.
I think it was just a bit of a saving grace, the fact that one just turned up at the right time, you know, and that's unbelievable within itself, the fact that we have that service in this country, really, you know.
Did they take out
a helicopter literally just came and whizzed me to the nearest spinal surgeon, which was in Southampton, and then I had like a 7-8 hour operation, like an emergency operation. They told me parents, you know, there's a chance that he won't make it through the operation. There's a chance he will, and they just had to hope for the best, and they made their way down to Southampton.
Well, they obviously in Liverpool, were they?
Yeah, everyone was in Liverpool. This was like this crash happened at like 2 a.m. as well, you know.
Really?
Did it?
Yeah. So like the police had woke me mum up at like 4.
Mate, things just seem a million times worse when it's at night as well, or when it's in pitch black. Like things just fucking. Yeah.
But it was amazing, you know. Like when I woke up, because like everyone, all my closest people in my lives were there when I woke up, like in Southampton. Like, say, at this point it's like, it must be 9 hours after the incident. So people have got the call what's happened and just scrambled to the car and came all the way down to Southampton. Yeah, all my best mates.
You think it's like happened at 2 a.m. and they're all jumping in. I'm driving 6-7 hours. You know what I mean? It's amazing.
Yeah, it is. It is. So, you know, that's a very precious memory for me, of course. I've had a really special support network over the years, you know, and I think that's definitely one of the reasons why I've been able to do what I've done in terms of the recovery that we've ended up making from that day.
Did you, as soon as you got put in the helicopter, then did they put you like under as such straight away, and then that's it? You can't remember until
under what? Sorry,
like did they just put you under, as in like make you
under the anaesthetic, and just you can't remember?
I'm not sure in a helicopter, but probably. The first thing I remember about that was when I woke up in Southampton and I had this button. It was like there was a morphine drip going to me, and you can only press it every 20 minutes.
What's it called? It's called
still
something,
in festival mode a little bit, so I was like, at the time, just like half trying to laugh about something. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, it's been 20 minutes yet.
It's called something that yeah.
I've heard you talk about it.
You can keep on pressing, it doesn't do nothing, does it, until the 20-minute thing, and then you can have your other dose of it. Fucking hell. I had morphine tablets, me, you know, when I got out as well. I fucking remember being back home having fucking morphine tablets, and you're not meant to mix them, and I was going out for a pint having these fucking morphine tablets.
Yeah. I was on all sorts of prescription medication, honestly. I was like, I was a real zombie for a couple of years afterwards. Number one, because just mentally, like, you're somewhere that you never imagined yourself to be. And I really struggled. I know I'm in a good place now, you know, but it's been 7 years. I've made an incredible recovery that I'm proud of, so I'm like, I feel good these days. But the first few years was, you know, it was hell on earth. It was like, I really struggled, seriously. So
you know, in those early days,
all sorts of meds,
yeah, it's on those early days, mate, where I always feel for people like yourself or anyone in like Civvy Street is, I just feel so bad, and there's nothing anyone can do. But I mean, why I feel so bad is when I got blown up, you know, a horrific injury, but I was surrounded by loads of lads my age, similar mindsets, similar attitudes, similar injuries, so it made it a lot easier. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, okay.
It was like, whereas I'm guessing you've woken up and your recovery then begins with people that, you know, maybe not your age, there's not that many of you, you know, no. Do you know what I mean? It's like, for me, my recovery was dead easy because there was fucking 100 lads all within a couple of years of age of me, have all got fucking no legs, you know, so we're all in it together.
See, we didn't even know what a spinal cord injury was at the time.
That's what I mean, yeah.
Like, I over the years, I've raised quite a lot of awareness now, I think, and like just been spreading this message about spinal cord injury recovery. But at the time, there was nothing, and I didn't even have like Instagram at the time. I think I got Instagram a year after the crash, or like 6 months later. So like now you can just type in spinal cord injury on a hashtag. You know what I mean? And you're taken to a database of like people all over the world doing the same thing, and you can ask them what to do. And I get messages flooding through my thing all the time, people from all corners of the world, like
just asking for advice.
But I didn't, but I didn't have that.
No.
I didn't have any of that. So it was like, we just had to start from scratch. We didn't know the first thing about it. And to make matters worse, the system where we ended up in the hospital was just the most negative, like draining, like whatever motivation you might have had, like it was kind of designed to take it away from you, you know. It was really bad.
What, as in like they were giving you no hope for recovery?
Yeah, not only no hope, but they were steering you down
the
wrong way to, like, you know, sit in your wheelchair. There was I was introduced to a psychologist and stuff, and when I was in a bad, look, I'm in a vulnerable place at this point, you know. I'm in my hospital bed. I can't move. I'm just looking at the ceiling. I couldn't even move to like have a wash. I didn't have a shower for like 3 months. And nurses had to like wipe me down with baby wipes, but because I broke my spine in 2 places, for them to do that, what it was to be 3 nurses, one on my legs, one on me on my trunk, one on me like my neck, my head, and they grabbed me and said like, okay, 1, 2, 3, and then roll me over to one side. And then someone else would just have baby wipes and just pat me down, and then I'd come back and he'd do it the other way. So that's the kind of state I was in at the time. I was having heavy panic attacks, loads of panic attacks. And anyway, someone tells me somewhere along the lines, one of the nurses tells me, well, you know, wait till you meet Clive, you know, Clive will make you feel better, kind of thing. The psychologist told me like all good things about him, so I couldn't wait to meet this guy who I believed knew what I was going through and understood me and was going to have empathy and, you know, give me a little bit of
a boost,
a little bit of pump kind of thing. Anyway, eventually I started doing the psychology sessions, and it was just like, you know, look, Zach, you look like a rabbit at a crossroads, and you don't know which way to go, and I probably did at the time, to be fair. And he was aware that I had a good support network. You know, the first day I got to intensive care, there was about 50 people outside that in the ward, in the corridor. There was loads of people who like all my mates and people like me loved ones were there when we got to Southport. So I got taken from Southampton to Southport.
How long were you in Southampton for?
Just the operation, and then they whizzed me up to Southport. So this system I'm talking about, sorry, is in Southport.
Is in Southport now.
So it's supposedly the leading spinal unit in the country. So you're told that you're in good hands and whatever. And anyway, point is, I started seeing this psychologist, and it was basically just like, you know, look, Zach, you're a smart lad, you know, but you need to get to grips with this situation now.
Really?
You know, you've got all these people telling you that you're going to get better, but you've severed your spinal cord, kind of thing. Like, we're experts in this matter, and you have severed your spinal cord. This is not just like any broken back situation. So you're kind of going to have to let go of this like, kind of, let's call it, support. And he described it, he had like analogies for everything. So they had the onion analogy, and it was like, think of this situation as an onion, and it's like, so we have the center of the onion, and in the center is you, me, and, you know, like the professionals. And then on the next layer we have your parents and your family. And the other layer, you have your mates. And the other layer is people who know about it, and blah blah blah. And he was like, you know, these were the most, basically the most important thing in this onion situation. In this onion was is us in the centre, the core of it, and we know what we're talking about. And that was just the whole kind of ideology that was going on.
What was he trying to tell? Like, what was he trying to tell? Was he trying to, from what you just said, then it seems like he was like not saying there's no hope, but like maybe like realistic. I don't know,
yeah,
or like
maybe, yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, I did sever my spinal cord, you know.
Yeah.
So it's like,
I know. I'm thinking like, is it? I know. Yeah.
because the
thing
thing
is, see both sides, because it's like you don't really want them to just give false hope, though, do you? At the same time.
Yeah.
But I know what you mean. Well, obviously, I can't wait to hear about because all your achievements. But I mean, do you think it's now easier for you to look back and think, fucking hell, he was a dick type thing because he told me wrong?
Yeah. I mean, I just don't agree with it, what they're doing to people in there, honestly, because it's like it was like a system, a well-oiled one as well, that was designed to make you get used to this wheelchair situation.
Yeah.
And it was just like, you know, just you know, and he said to me parents loads of times, just let him get on with his life. Because my mum and dad were like, they were fighting the situation like really heavily. My mum was out there doing like as much research as she could, getting in touch with you know, kind of spinal cord injury ambassadors around the world, speaking to specialists in America, and just trying to get as much information as we possibly could at the time. But then when my mum wasn't there with me, they'd come and like put me in a room and say like, yeah, come, let's have a chat. I'd sit down, I'd wheel myself in the chair, I'd sit down, and it'd be like, so at this point my mum had been getting knowledge about like centres to go to and stuff, specialist centres. So they'd sit me down and they'd say like, Zach, you know this place in Cambridge where your mum wants to take you to? Bearing in mind this place saved my life eventually when we got there. And he'd be like, this place in Cambridge that your mum keeps talking about, these people are scum down there. And
really?
They only want your money off you, and they don't care about you getting better. You don't want to go there. Yeah, and I'd just be like, in this vulnerable situation.
That's what I mean, mate. You're in fucking the most vulnerable situation. And don't forget, you're still a young lad.
Yeah.
Fuck me. And you're getting these so-called experts.
Yeah, it was heavy, you know. It was bad, man. So, I mean, ultimately, they got the better of me mentally. I'll admit that. I fought it for months. But
what, as in you thought, nah, I will overcome this, and then in the end, they just kind of knocked you down.
In the end, they just ground me down that much. And
it's so sad to fucking hear that, mate. That's how they like that.
Yeah. They got me eventually. They did.
And once you got rid of someone's hope, like you've kind of you know, that hope, and like is a lot of things what people, you know, keep people going, isn't it? Yeah. You know, and once you got rid of that, what you know,
exactly,
what's left?
Yeah, it was bad. So, Anyway, eventually we managed to find this centre in Cambridge. We got to Cambridge. So before we got to Cambridge, we tried out all sorts of private physios in Liverpool, outside in the northwest. We were going over to Yorkshire, like the north of the country. We were active looking for things all the time.
I'm sorry, what's your situation at this point? Are you in a wheelchair? You can obviously move your... what's come back injury-wise?
I guess at this point where I've just jumped to is like we've left hospital now.
Yeah.
Really. So I was in hospital for 6-7 months. And then we left. And then I moved into a bungalow, like an adapted bungalow. And in that period, we had like, there was like a legal case going on and all that. And so we had to like fight with solicitors to even get to Cambridge in the first place, you know, because it's all it costs to go to these private centres, you know.
Yeah.
And this is why it's like, it's such a shame that this level of therapy is not on offer within the NHS system. And I understand that, you know, people are working with a budget. I understand that, and if everybody who came through those doors of that ward in Southport had as much motivation as me and were looking to train full time for the rest of their lives, then there's going to be a bill to that, you know. So I do understand that. However, it's just a shame that people aren't at least kind of
just open-minded.
Being open, exactly. Yeah. Being open to other avenues. Yeah, man. So eventually we managed to get to Cambridge, but even that was a job, because what happened was, after I got out of hospital, I had it in my head that like a big party was the best thing for me. Like I wanted to like go on this, like I wanted to have a blowout kind of thing. So I went to a couple of festivals. I went to a festival in Germany called Time Warp. Like,
are you in a wheelchair at this point?
Yeah, in a wheelchair. Went to this big heavy German techno rave and thought that was like the best medicine for me at the time. I swear I had a fit outside there on the way out. I nearly died. I had a fit. I was in a bad way mentally anyway. And what happened was, because I was in this wheelchair, like loads of people who were passing me in the rave were giving me drinks. And they were like having banter with me and going, "Hey!" So I was just like, and like just drinking whatever. And there must have been,
you were spiked or something.
Must have been all sorts of concoctions in there, really, mustn't there? Thinking about it, because all of a sudden we left, and something just went to me like, I just went weird, and long story short, I fell out of the wheelchair. I had a big heavy fit on the floor.
Fucking hell.
And then, to make matters worse, in Germany, the ambulances, there's like a big German word, and then underneath it was DIE. So like it's like a vehicle that says "die" on the side of it, coming to get me at that point. So anyway, that's where it was. And then the day that we were meant to get to Cambridge, I went to another festival, and
do you think this was just you mentally just thinking like, look, I'm still me. I just wanted
to enjoy myself, but I didn't believe that I was ever going to get better. So I was like, well, what else am I going to do at this point?
And were you at this point like kind of like fuck it, like that sort of attitude, or
not? Completely. Yeah. But I've always had a big passion for life and for living and enjoying myself. And I was travelling around South America when I was 20, you know. So I was a baby at that point. But as soon as I was old enough, I was just out there.
Yeah.
I went to Peru first, and then Bolivia, Argentina, and Brazil.
Yeah.
So that was over pretty much 4 months.
Yeah, I've done a month in Argentina and Brazil.
Did you? Yeah.
It's awesome.
It's amazing down there, isn't it? I've been back to Brazil since. But I think that experience like prepared me for what was about to come, because I think that travelling can really teach you lessons in life and values, you know what I mean?
Absolutely,
so I've felt that over the years, like whatever it was that I learnt and experienced back then, I was definitely more prepared to what ultimately came around. So anyway, the point I was getting at was, when we got to Cambridge, I went to another festival, and we were supposed I was supposed to go to my first session on the Monday, and it was a 5-day trial course, Monday to Friday. Monday came, and my dad's phoning me, and I haven't came home at this point. I can't even remember where I was. I hadn't came home, and my dad's phoning me, and he's like, Zach, what's going on? Like, we need to be in Cambridge, like, your session's in a few hours. And I said to my dad, you know what, Dad, forget about it. You know what I mean? I don't want to go. Why don't, you know, you need to listen to them. You need to listen to the doctors.
Really?
You know, they're the professionals, they're the experts.
As in meaning the guys in Southport?
Yeah, I was like, you know, this isn't happening, Dad. Forget about it. I'm paralysed. I've severed my spinal cord, you know. I can't move a muscle. We've had no recovery so far. So anyway, my dad ended up finding out where it was, bundled me into the back of the car, and my mum and dad drove down to Cambridge, and they pretty much put me in the wheelchair and threw me through the front doors of Prime Physio in Cambridge. And then
that's just love of parents, that, isn't it? To say, look, you know,
it's beautiful, really, isn't it? So anyway, what unfolded the next, say, 4 days, because I missed my first session. I literally missed the first day. What then unfolded was I just got shown a completely different angle to the situation, you know.
Yeah.
And it was a different angle to all the other private physios we'd seen, because we'd seen loads of physios up north. No one gave us any, like,
inspiration.
Yeah, nothing to really, like, work with. But it was still kind of, I was just training. You know what I mean? But I had this idea of physio at first that was like what I was doing before I went to Cambridge. I was sat on the end of a bed and people were throwing balls at me, and I'd go like, you know what I mean, and catch it and throw it back. Or people would give me a TheraBand, and I'd just be like, it was really basic stuff. We got to Cambridge, and it's like this really, like, you know, the pioneers in neurophysiotherapy. But on top of that, he's mixed his scientific knowledge with this, like, intense army style training camp idea, because he's ex-military. Andy, who's the head coach in Cambridge. Do you know Headley Court?
Yeah, that's where I went.
Headley Court, okay.
What was his name, Andy what?
And Andrew Galbraith. So he trained in Headley Court for 25 years.
I spent like 3 years in Headley Court.
He was a soldier too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I knew that.
That's what I was saying.
That's where you would have been.
When you were saying about your... I was saying about when I went to Headley Court, I was just surrounded by like-minded people. So for me, like, it's the polar opposite to you being in Southport. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was like me just fucking being around physios who were like, right, come on, do you want to play footy? And I was like, I've got one leg, and they were like, so, come on, I want to play footy. And I was thinking, fucking hell, this is great, really? Yeah, come on, that's fucking... And they were like, they had a Nintendo Wii, and you could like stand on it and like ski and got you, rather than like you're saying, and just, TheraBands.
Just do that.
And it's just fucking it. And that, mentally, mate, it's fucking huge, isn't it?
Yeah, it's massive. He calls it Mini Headley Court.
Does he?
Yeah, Prime Physio, Mini Headley Court. And he was a soldier too, and but he developed a fascination for the medical side of things. So after he finished his service, like on the front line, maybe you call it, he got into the medical side of things. Spent a lot of time working with amputees, and people who'd had heavy burns and stuff, and then he got into the psychology side of things as well. So he's like a psychologist too, and he knows how to get into my mind, you know. So it's anyway, I got introduced to this whole new thing at this point, and he really cracked the whip with me that week as well. I wasn't fit at this point. I don't know if you've had a look on my Instagram, but there's like, I've got all old photos when I first went there, and I'm really fat at that point. I've always been like really like athletic, but 12 months in a wheelchair doing nothing. You know, I just put I was like a balloon. I put so much weight on, and I've got photos when we first got there, of what the situation was like. I was really weak, and really unfit. But that first week was the first time that I'd say I trained since the crash, that I did a workout.
So he was really trying to push you,
and it just made me feel so much better. Yeah. It's like, it's just, I mean, the evolution from that and now has been like, it's just a training session, you know what I mean? Eventually the penny dropped after a few weeks of going there, and I was like, I'm just training here. This isn't like physiotherapy, what I thought. I'm just like going and doing a 2-hour session like I used to, but I'm doing new exercises. You know what I mean? So when I was able to put 2 and 2 together, I was able to just apply like whatever experience I already had in sport and training to these new methods and exercises, and then things started to happen. What happened was,
I think on that, mate, as well, you've explained it brilliantly, mate, but I try and tell people just about how special Headley Court is, and obviously the place where you went sounds like very similar, and it's just the most humbling place I've ever been to. Headley Court.
I've never been, but
mate, it's a shame they've closed it. You know, they've changed it now. They've got a new centre. It's in Loughborough now, yeah. But like, it was just, you know, you couldn't feel sorry for yourself there. You'd walk around and you'd have him there with no legs who's fucking walking for the first time. You'd have someone with maybe a similar injury to yourself cracking on. You'd have someone who had 70% burns, and you'd have me with one leg, and then you walk around and you just see all these people just trying to be the best version of themselves, and it's impossible not to be inspired.
So it's inspiring straight away. See, that's what I was missing, you know, and it's, I don't know, I was nearly going to say I'd never forgive the hospital situation for that then, but yeah, just
I can understand normally how you'd feel like that. Now that you've thankfully and luckily seen both sides of it, I can understand you'd feel angry and resentment, because
yeah, I do.
You fucking hell, I would, knowing that. But what's sad, which you also said before, is that not everyone will get to see both sides of it.
Yeah.
People just think that that's the only way, where thankfully now you've seen like the kind of Headley Court way and the Cambridge, and it's like, so mate, fucking hell, I get it, man. Fucking get it.
So things just started to happen from that moment. We were commuting to Cambridge like every few weeks. At this point, we're still based in Liverpool, and we go down, we do a week, and we come home. We go back, and eventually one day I was in the shower in my place in Liverpool, and one muscle just started to like flicker in me leg. It's called
your quads,
rectus femoris, yeah, the biggest muscle in my quad. So what happened was I was constantly trying to send signals from my brain to below my level of injury, but nothing was ever getting through. What happens with a spinal cord injury, just in case anyone listening to this doesn't know or doesn't understand.
Yeah, I don't even fucking know.
So a spinal cord injury is your spinal cord. It's like the tail of your brain. So it's your central nervous system. So every signal that you send throughout your body, it starts in your brain, and you have to send that signal via your spinal cord to wherever. So for me to move that finger now, an impulse, an electrical impulse is travelling from my brain through my spinal cord to my finger. So if that say system is cut off in the spine, if you break the spine, then those signals cannot pass through that site, you know. It's like a highway. Your central nervous system is like a highway of billions of you know, neurons and electrical messages flowing through constantly. So if you damage that highway, then that signal can't get through.
And that spinal cord is engulfed, is protected by
the spine.
By the spine, yeah. It's just in the middle, just flows straight through the middle, yeah.
And was yours severed completely then, was it, or just?
It's called it's incompletely severed, yeah. So you'd have different categories of spinal cord injury. You'd have A, B, C, D, E. Mine was B. Nice. Okay. So
So anyone who's listening, we've got the thing up on, you know,
so you can see
YouTube.
what you mentioned before, the lumbar and so that's there.
So
then.
there's L1. You see the green one, the first green one.
Yeah.
So everything, every bodily function that I've got above L1 was all working perfectly.
Yeah.
But when you get to L1, it was just a complete stop. It was just like nothing below there, because that's where the spinal cord damage happened.
And where would you say, where is roughly L1 then? Just above the pelvis, or
It's
just
like the bottom of your back.
right?
Yeah, towards the bottom of your back. Yeah.
It's insane that.
Yeah, it's fucking, the body is fucking mad, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
Yeah. So
So you're just trying to send these signals down, and obviously it's more or less severed, but there's a tiny bit there, if you like, that can...
Yeah. So it's called an incomplete. It was a burst fracture. That's what they call it, an incomplete burst fracture. So it was a burst fracture in the sense that my vertebrae burst. So it exploded, as if, like, the best analogy is if I got a block of ice and threw it against the floor, that ice was going to smash into thousands of individual particles, and that's what happened with my vertebrae. And then when that smashed, those fragments of bone sliced through my spinal cord. So it severed the spinal cord, but it was incomplete. So my sensory nerves were still intact, so I could still feel.
I see.
Still feel, not 100%. I can't feel me right foot or anything up to me right knee, but everything else I've got. Everything else, my sensation's good. So I could feel, but I couldn't move. So we have two nervous systems. We have sensory and oh my god, I can't believe the amount of times I've said this.
Do you want me to type it in?
Sensory and motor.
Sensory.
We have a sensory system and a motor system. So sensory is if you touch your leg or arm now, a signal travels up to your brain.
Motor's the other way.
And motor is when is the other way, exactly, when you think it in your brain and then you send that motor impulse to wherever it is in your body. So all my motor system was completely cut off. And obviously I was trying to send these signals constantly, but to no prevail. And then one fine day in the shower, something just happened, but this is after we were experimenting in Cambridge, you know, we were just trying all sorts of stuff. So I'm in the shower and I just got a flicker. I just got a little flicker in me quad. And but it was nothing, you know what I mean? It was like millions of miles away from where I wanted to be, but it was the first thing. So we went back down to Cambridge and we were like, you know, we've got something here. We finally got whatever it was that we were praying for. So
that must be like the best feeling of hope. Like,
well, it was. It was something to grab hold of.
It's testament to you, mate, that you carried on just trying to send those signals. Because again, going back to the Southport thing, you might have just stopped trying to send them. If you'd lived the rest of your life like that. It's the fact that you've been constantly, even when you're just sitting there, just trying to send. You know. Because otherwise it might never have happened. Yeah,
exactly. So eventually something got through, and then we went back to Cambridge, and then he was just like, somewhere along the lines, the basics of it was, sound, give me 3 sets of 25 on that flicker.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're just doing that, but not only that, but there was all sorts of exercises, intense stuff that we were doing. But the basics of it was, okay, you can connect with that now. Let's work it. Let's work with what we've got. And it was literally nothing.
Are you in a good place mentally now?
No.
So you're still
No.
No,
that didn't come for a few years later.
Right,
really. Yeah. But I'm probably in a better place than I was. As soon as I went to Cambridge, things started to improve, you know.
Maybe because there's a routine as well. You're like, right, I've got to go, this day, this week I'm at Cambridge, and then, it helps.
Yeah. It done me the world of good, that, and just being around the exercise world again, you get these endorphins when you train, don't you? You feel good.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, well, why not? Why aren't I going to go back and do that? And we just used to go back all the time. But he'd have me on a bike on a spin bike, and I couldn't move my legs at all at this point. And I remember thinking, like, what am I doing on this bike? Like, I'm paralysed here. Like, get me off. But he just hold me feet and physically move me legs around and say, like, just even if you're getting something from the hips, just do it. Let's just go for it.
It reminds me so much, mate, of being and stuff.
Does it?
In Headley Court,
yeah. Well, he's got all his things from there, you know.
Yeah.
So one thing led to another, and eventually muscles started to wake up. Another one woke up, another one, and then we just continued that process. And before we knew it, really, things started to progress fast. When we eventually got to Cambridge, things did start to take off, and eventually we moved, and we decided to move to Cambridge.
Really?
Yeah. We
How many years down the line is this now then?
We moved just after the World Cup in Brazil, which was, what year is that, 2014?
14, yeah.
So it's a couple of years then.
Yeah, I went to that in Brazil, and I had 3 weeks away from the training, and at that point I was just starting to get out of the wheelchair.
That's awesome. You went to the fucking World Cup.
Did you go to some games?
I love how you just kind of skimmed over that. Yeah, just went to the World Cup in Brazil. Yeah.
No, but I was just starting to get photos out of the chair. Before we went there, but by the time we came home, I felt in 3 weeks my physical capabilities just went and just dropped. So I came back to me. I said to me, Dad, just had 3 weeks away there, and I feel like I've just lost a year's worth of progress. And my dad was like, should we just move to Cambridge? And I said, let's just give it a shot. Let's see what happens. So we rented an apartment for 6 months, and that was the plan. Just check out for 6 months. And things just exploded in those 6 months, and we ended up staying for 3 years.
Full time then,
I just turned it into a full time job, and I was like, "This is me. I'll just do this. I'll just come and train every single day."
And at this point, was there ever an end goal to think, I'm going to give this 3 years, and I'm going to get myself to where I can walk, or was it just, I don't know, what was you thinking?
I still didn't think I was going to walk at that point. Really? Not really.
So you just thought then that your life would be living in Cambridge now, going there every day and that?
I just thought I'm at least going to get a bit better if I go there, somewhere along the lines. Like, my quality of life's going to get better, because I could feel it anyway. You know, and you just know.
Yeah.
Like, I just feel the direction I was going to go in if I was in Cambridge was upwards. And so I was like, let's go. And we did. It turned out to be the best decision I ever made in my life.
Really, yeah?
Yeah.
And you've done 3 years there in total?
Yeah, did 3 years in Cambridge. And then...
At this point as well, have you with other aspects of your life, like your social life and stuff? I mean, you said there you went to the World Cup in Brazil. What's happening with that? Like, are you still managing to go to the pub with friends, or have a missus, or have you kind of got that normality back of a young lad, or is it?
Yeah, completely. Yeah. No, I've got a good life. Yeah, I live.
But up until this point, I mean, as well, are you still kind of?
Oh, sorry, at that point.
Yeah, so you're going. Obviously, you went to the World Cup in Brazil.
Yeah, I was still. Yeah. I'm still me at the end of the day, I think. So I've always, I don't know how to describe it, but in short, yeah, I've always just cracked on, basically, you know. So I was going to where did it go? Round about that period. I used to train for I'd do 4 months intense or 5 months, and then I'd go somewhere I had an amazing time in India. Went to India. Ended up with my own night in one of the bars in India on the guitar. You know, singing all Beatles tunes.
I've seen on your Instagram.
They had a big sign outside saying "Come by for a free drink," blah blah blah.
Whereabouts in India is this?
No, in a place called. Okay, so it's the state of Kerala, but it's called Varkala Beach.
Right.
Every Friday or something, you had your own little spot?
Amazing, yeah. I was only there for a couple of weeks, but I had a few nights there. There's loads of people as well. It was boss.
And you play the guitar then?
Yeah. So I've always done stuff like that. I've always maintained a balance. Because if I just continue to do this like heavy training routine constantly, it gets to a point where it's repetitive. You know, so I've always tried to break it up and maintain that balance. So I'd do like 4 months heavy somewhere, and then go somewhere like that I was interested in at the time, like that. India, Brazil, we've been the Philippines, down to Australia. It's in Indonesia last year, so it's a big part of my life, travelling.
Yeah.
It's important to me.
So good you've continued that as well. You know, like rather than just gone. You know, I find it a nightmare travelling with two normal legs. Do you know what I mean? And the stresses of travelling, let alone when you can't even walk. You know, so fair play for continuing like to. Yeah. You know, Philippines isn't Spain, is it? You know.
Yeah. I think I'll always do that.
The big tips, mate. It's awesome. Yeah. How did you find that? I mean, at first, was it like a fucking, getting you, but then did it happen over time? Did it, or was it a moment and you thought, fuck it, I'm going for this?
I think so. One of the game changers for me back then, before I was walking, was we got this thing that we used to call a trike. And it's this like, it's one of the most unbelievable pieces of kit for someone who can't walk.
I think I see my mate Joe Townsend's got one. I think I know what you're going to say.
Put this thing on the front of the wheelchair.
Yeah.
And it's like a bike, but it basically turns your wheelchair into a Harley Davidson all of a sudden, and it goes 30 miles an hour. It's an absolute chick magnet, honestly. You wouldn't believe it. And it's like, so I got the, and like, I never saw that. I was always really timid, and I was just like, I just never saw the cool side of it really when I was in it. But the point is all of a sudden people's feedback was so much better. All of a sudden people were giving me like cool feedback, whereas when I was in the wheelchair, everyone was really sympathetic. You know what I mean? People would like bend down to me and like talk to me as if like I wasn't on their level almost, you know.
Yeah.
And it used to really affect me mentally. So all of a sudden we get this trike, and it's like you rev it, it's got gears and reverse and everything. It's like,
is it electric then?
Literally, yeah, it's electric. It's unbelievable. And all of a sudden it just like, you know when you first drive a car, and that freedom,
it's the independence
opens to you. So I got that from this trike, and it just changed my world completely.
Yeah.
So I had a lot more confidence then at that point. So that's what I had travelling. I never went on any of these trips just in a wheelchair. So I had this like electric trike. Had my guitar on the back of it. And
I can picture you look fucking sick. Sounds fucking cool.
And then my suitcase just there on my knees, and just used to go wherever.
Thought about,
Yeah, I was kind of just out there, I think, and all of that helped me mentally, you know, massively.
Imagine,
You know, all these experiences that I've had along the way have been crucial into kind of just rebuilding.
Mate, our stories, mate, so similar, you know, mate. Like some of the things you said are just.
Yeah, no, I know. That's why I said I have been kind of, and I did know that there'd come a day when we'd meet.
Yeah.
I was hoping it was on the top of Snowdon the other day.
I mean, I was
thinking to myself, because I saw your post and you said that you'd done Mo Famine and Snowdon was next. I was thinking, if I meet him on top of Snowdon.
Oh, mate, now after today, mate, you'll have me in your ear all the time now, mate, after this. But your recovery, mate, is, and it's great that you've been kind of went down that way through the guy Andy, but also, mate, you personally, mate, and like it's so similar in the sense of like I was fortunate enough, I had like charities like Help for Heroes and stuff, and they took like a load of injured soldiers to fucking like America, like, and I'd just lost my leg maybe like 6 months before, and I'm getting flown to fucking Texas. We're like bouncing around Texas and going to like these barbecues, and then we were going to California, learned to surf in California, then I went up to Yosemite, and I've been like disabled, if you like, for 6 months, and I'm getting to see the world, like, and mentally it was like, wow, this can be my life if I want it to be.
Yeah, you can definitely find a path in it, can't you? I think
just to travel and
yeah. I did when you said Yosemite just then. I did a big part of my marathon training in Yosemite. We haven't spoke about that yet.
I know, mate. You blew me mind already.
I'm jumping to things.
We haven't got on to half the fucking cool shit. You've already done loads of cool stuff, but...
Oh, where were we? In the journey.
Yeah.
Let's go back to that.
Yeah. So, I mean, you can probably... You'll finish off, but... So how long did you eventually, like, what was the journey then in Cambridge where you obviously you've got an apartment now, a 6-month apartment, and what does that look now continuing? Do you start to look at, I'm going to continue this like for the rest of, I don't know, a few years, or I need to move somewhere else, or?
Well, I think so, yeah. I think in Cambridge is where I made the most dramatic changes, you know. But what then happened was I eventually started taking baby steps in Cambridge. We had what's called an exoskeleton first. I don't know if you've ever heard of that, but an exoskeleton is a robotic suit.
I've seen a thing on your Instagram of it, yeah.
And they have it basically walks you when you can't move your legs, or when you're paralysed. This robotic suit will walk you. And how it works is you have sensors in the underside of the feet. So you have to. It's called weight distribution. So we have to lean over and find what we call the sweet spot. And when you put X amount of weight on this sweet spot on the left hand side, that makes the machine take a step with the right leg.
Oh yeah.
So then as you go over on that side of the right leg, you then weight shift, find the sweet spot, and then when you find that sweet spot, the left leg takes a step. So all of a sudden this machine gets your body kind of taking these steps again, and the idea is for it to retrain.
It's like muscle memory.
Retrain your neurological system, you know, because you retrain your brain on how to take a step, on like what it should be doing when your body's taking a step. So we started doing that first, but then once I was out of the machine, I was back in the wheelchair. As we were still cracking on with all these intense training methods, like these muscles were getting stronger at this point. So every time we get back in the machine, they have a setting on the machine that shows you how much percent of the step the machine is doing.
Oh, I see, yeah.
And if it's called passive something, the setting on the machine, and so you can see there's numbers to tell you, right, okay, so I'm taking 10% of this myself now. And then you keep training, and then a few weeks later I'm on 25%. You know what I mean?
That's so good. You can put a number to it.
See it getting better.
Yeah.
And at this point you're like, oh my god, like we're getting somewhere now. You know what I mean?
That's the thing, mate, isn't it? Getting somewhere. You know? When anyone who's been through an injury, it is those little things, isn't it? Like,
when you could see the numbers changing.
Mate, when I put my leg on for the first time, mate, it would kill. I'd be able to put my leg on for like 10 minutes.
Really?
Yeah, and then it was agony. I'd have to take it off, and then the next day I'd be like, right, come on, 20 minutes, come on.
Yeah.
And then the next day I'd be like 25 minutes, come on. Like when we had, I spoke to Carragher, when he said about him getting injured, he was like, if they said 6 weeks to me, he was like, right, I'll try and do it in 5. You know, like breaking whatever you can break down in your mind just to give you that little, like, come on.
Yeah.
And now it's completely fine. Like you can, it doesn't hurt at all.
Oh no, yeah, it's just fucking normal now.
Yeah.
But again, back in those early days, I sometimes take for granted now. I put my leg on first thing in the morning, it's on then all day. But I forget though, fucking early on, I put the leg on for 5 minutes and that was me done for like a few hours. Fucking hell.
How long ago was your injury?
I was blown up in February 2009, but then I elected to have the leg amputated in the November 2010.
Okay. So that was your decision?
Yeah.
I actually asked the doctors to do that to me.
Really?
Did you?
Yeah.
But it wouldn't have been the same though, would it? Because
I don't know why, but I just did. I just thought somewhere along the lines, if I'm going to live the rest of my life in a wheelchair, I just felt like they'd get in the way.
Yeah.
A little bit if I couldn't move them.
I know someone who's
take them off. I'm glad they didn't.
I know guys who have asked to have their arm amputated if they've had no function. Yeah. Because they said it gets in the way.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's insane, that, isn't it?
Yeah. So that's what I thought at the time.
So you're going through this suit, and then you're just getting better all the time.
Getting better and better, yeah. And then eventually, what happens is I broke out of the suit, and we got we call them calipers. Do you know what a caliper is? So we had full length calipers.
It's like a Forrest Gump.
People would know them as braces. Yeah. So full leg braces, let's say.
It's when Forrest Gump runs and they start falling off.
Yeah. So we progressed away from the exoskeleton to the point where I can stand up in full length leg braces with a Zimmer frame at this point. And we're starting to take like small, we're still training, like the full program's still going on, but parts of the program was we work on the skill aspect, which is the walking at this point. So we'd work on the skill some days and the strength other days.
But you know what as well, we're kind of like glossing over it. Every little moment must have been like with your mum and dad and stuff and friends, like the first time they see you standing up and the first time, every moment is just like...
I've got some special videos along the years, like...
I remember when, I think we spoke about it on the other pods we done, and I remember, mate, I had a walking stick, and we've been doing loads of drills, and I walk with this walking stick. Mate, I'm fucking getting choked up thinking about this. I remember walking in my room, and we'd been doing little drills, but I had the physio there, and then I had my walking stick, and I picked my walking stick up so it wasn't on the floor, and walked, done like 5 steps, and then just fell on the bed, started crying, and rang my dad and was like, fucking Dad, I've just walked 5 steps, and it was like the fucking best feeling in the world, you know what I mean? Because I'd done it in physio with someone there, and this was the first time I'd done it on my own. I was like, it was fucking amazing.
It's them little milestones along the way, like you just have to grab onto them, don't you, and really work with them.
Who were the other people who were in that physio with you, Zach? Was it like people like car accidents? Was it
in
like,
Cambridge?
Yeah, in Cambridge,
Yeah, so it's a neuro physio, so it's like people who've had spinal cord injuries like me, people who've had strokes.
All different ages as well, just all walks of life.
People who've got MS, all different ages, different walks of life. And then after 5 o'clock, it becomes a sports physio then, so you get proper athletes coming for the sports physio, basically. So he covers a lot of angles, but the neuro side of things is the main thing that they cover down there. I can't speak higher of this place down there. Like,
what's it called?
Prime Physio in Cambridge. So when people ask me, like I said before, I get a lot of people contacting me through Instagram for advice, and whatever, that kind of thing. And the best thing I can always say to them is, you need to go to Cambridge. So that's always the best advice that I can give, really. Some people go, some people don't, but every time people go, like, people just can't believe
the results
that they're getting. Yeah, it's like a miracle centre down there. It's beautiful, honestly. So at this point I'm taking steps in these leg braces, and then eventually 2 leg braces became 1 leg brace, and then 1 leg brace became none, but still with a Zimmer. That was probably the most significant moment for me, when I first took a step without the leg braces. I was on a Zimmer and loads of my body weight was going through my arms, but I was in this upright position and I was moving my legs. I was taking steps, and it might have only been 6 at the time. Really slow, really slow. We've got all this on video on my Instagram, and then from that came, like, there'll be a few more weeks training, and then there's another video and you can see the same thing, steps are a little bit better, and maybe like there'd be like 12 steps this time. I was doing stuff in the water at this point as well, which was I was doing a lot of like physio in the water too. But I was starting to get into me swimming at that point as well, which is another thing to talk about. Anyway, taking these steps, one thing leads to another, and say 6 months later, I've thought to myself, I think it was longer than 6 months, to be honest. It was probably about a year later, after first taking steps, I wanted to go outside and take some steps. So we went to Sefton Park. We went to the lake at Sefton Park, And at this point, I'd made a lot of recovery. At this point, you know, I was a bit mobile on my feet. I was feeling good, but I'd never went outside. I was just indoors. And the idea was to walk for like 20 minutes. I was going to try. I'd never done that kind of length, that kind of time at all. I was like, let's just go to the lake on Sefton Park and let's just see how I am in 20 minutes. So we started going, and I'm on a Zimmer frame at this point. We're taking step. 20 minutes comes and I'm in the zone now. You know, so I'm like, it's like
I feel like fucking crying here.
So I've took like, I'm in the zone and I'm like, it's like a training session. You know, I used to go on runs around Sefton Park all the time, so I felt like that again. So it was like, I felt good, and I went, come on, let's push it another 10. And my mate had the you know, seeing how far we'd walked as well. I was like, let's do another 10 minutes. So we've hit the 30-minute mark, and we've done half a mile in 30 minutes. And on top of that, we're halfway around the lake, and the car's back there anyway. You know what I mean? So we've just thought, let's just keep going. Let's do a mile. At that point, it was like, let's do a mile in under an hour. So we've pushed it, you know. We done a mile in about 59 minutes or something like that, you know. We got it in under an hour. Proper put it in at the end, was pouring in sweat.
This with the Zimmer frame?
This is with the Zimmer frame, yeah. So we got round the lake. And
you felt like you just fucking...
like really like uplifted, you know.
Yeah. I was going to say, you must have felt on top of the world.
I did. I felt amazing. Phoned everyone. Just couldn't wait to get it out there, what we'd done, you know.
Isn't it amazing to think like happiness, what people think of happiness, and you were probably the happiest you've been in years, and you'd walked a mile, and that was the you know, when people think about what brings you happiness, whether it's money or whether it's this, that's the it's fucking mad, isn't it?
But a mile that's a long way to walk, really, especially after being told that you'd never take another step. Just for the record, I missed this bit out before, but when we was in Southport Hospital, the definitive thing that got said to me by this head consultant was like, look, Zach, like, forget about it. So much so, he said, look, put it this way, if you walk again, I will eat my own tie. And that's a doctor, you know, that's a medical professional, and that's why I said, ultimately, they had me psychologically. Because at that point when that gets said to you, you're like...
He's the expert, he's like the fucking god. You're thinking, okay, if he's saying it, then...
Yeah. So I was in a bad way that night. Anyway, so I've got all this stuff in my head now, and that was just... Ultimately, I've just used that. That's just fuel to the fire now these days, you know. So we've done the mile, and at that point, that's planted a seed somewhere along the lines, I think. And I thought to myself, like, I don't know, I must have got home and digested what had happened, and a few weeks later we're back in the training programme, and I thought, okay, I want to walk longer. Okay, 5k maybe. Let's aim to do 5k in 6 months. So we did a training camp we did a programme for that for 6 months. And then we attempted it again at Sefton Park. This time, like, I told everyone, it was a big gang of us. So all my mates were with me, and we did it. We hit 5k, and like, I can't remember what it was off the top of my head. I think it was about 3 hours. 5k in about 3 hours. So after that, I went back and thought, it's like, okay, I want to do 10k, you know, and so I went back to the team and said, 6 months, let's do a 10k.
What's the support like down in Cambridge? Are they like, come on, you can do this? Are they like pushing you out of your...
Yeah. It was Andy's idea to do the marathon.
Was it?
Yeah. He told me when he was drunk one day after this ball that we have once a year, we have this annual fundraising ball. And he was like that at the end of the night. You know what's next for you, mate? Marathon. He's like this stern jock, you know what I mean? Yeah. Sorry about the Scottish accent then, but...
I'm dying to... You have to get his face. I'm dying to know if I've come across him or something.
Do you want me to get it? Do you know?
I don't know if he's on. Is he? If
Well,
you give
Andy-
What's
if
his
you
name?
Google his
Andy
name,
Galbraith. You'll be able to find him on Prime Physio's.
Andy
Andrew Galbraith. B-R...
there.
Yeah, Andrew Galbraith. There we go, yeah. So he's like, nah, none of them. Just go Prime Physio.
Prime Physio.
Yeah.
Prime Physio.
Yeah,
Cambridge.
and he'll be on there.
So what he says to you when he's pissed, you're walking a marathon.
I think I'd done a 10k at this point. Yeah, that's him there.
No, I don't
Top
recognise his
athlete.
face.
Top athlete. He's an Ironman. He's still smashing out Ironmans now. He's 51 now. He's still doing like a few Ironmans a year. He really leads by example. You know, when you've really
awesome.
got like someone to who you look up to,
Yeah.
who motivates you and leads by example. Every time I do a training session with him, he's done at least 5 miles at 6 a.m. that morning. You know what I mean? Or been out on the bike and covered whatever, or been for a swim. And he was like a professional, all sorts of sports, like professional gymnast, swimmer, triathlete. Do you know what cross country skiing is?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Diving was like the head coach for the diving team in the army or whatever. It was just
all
like
round good egg.
all round, top athlete. So I've got this figure that I kind of like.
Yeah.
You know, he paves the way for me, and I just do what he says.
Yeah.
You know. So anyway, he's dropped this hint one night when he's had a drink. He said, like, you need to do a marathon. And then I don't know, at this point I'd done a 10k. So double 10k is a half marathon. You know. So after the 10k I was like, okay, so where are we gonna go? You know, I decided to do a half marathon. And we just hit the same thing, the same kind of program. You know, we just work towards it. We've set realistic milestones along the way in realistic time frames. I think, you know, 6 months to hit this next kind of big goal. And then we did a half marathon in Liverpool. It was one of the best days ever because it's a special thing doing something like that in your home city, right? Like, I had a big send off at first. They let me go off first. So there was like thousands of people there, all people like lined up to watch the start, and then there was all loads of people behind me who were about to run. And there's a big
What year was this?
big countdown. This would be 2017. There's a big countdown, and like everyone was just like me first like half a mile that I've done. It's just been like a bit of a victory parade, you know what I mean? I've just like stormed down in my home city on the Albert Dock with everyone just like
Amazing.
just giving me props like that, and like that felt really, really good.
You're on crutches or a Zimmer frame still?
I'm on crutches.
Yeah.
Sorry, yeah. So I ended up going from Zimmer frame to what we call quad canes. So it's a crutch with like 4 legs on the bottom.
Oh yeah.
Have a bit more stability, and then we moved on to crutches. And then I started focusing on these long distances then. So we smashed a half marathon. Every time we'd do a milestone, the times were getting better too. So the 5k was like 3 hours, and then the 10k was like, say, 5 hours or something. And then the half marathon was, what's the half marathon? I can't remember. But anyway, it was less. So what it showed, every time we do this, the performance was better too.
Yeah.
So after the half marathon, we set a year plan then to do a marathon. We said, okay, let's walk the London Marathon. I want to be the first person.
Had no one done it with that injury?
In the world with a severed spinal cord to complete the London Marathon on foot. Yeah.
Bloody hell.
So
That's what I mean, man. You're talking, man, and seeing you now and all that. You forget what's happened to you.
Yeah, what's happened in the early stages. Yeah.
You forget
course,
like that picture you painted. It's like fucking hell. It's mad, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a big contrast, isn't it?
I think that's the best compliment. You know, when I find it with people with me, like the best compliment I can get is when you know, you kind of live a life and then people just don't even think that's the same person who was lying in that bed in a coma or whatever and fucked up. Do you know what I mean? It's like when you're living your life, it's like, fucking hell, I forgot that happened to you. That for me is the best compliment I get. Like,
I forget all the time.
Yeah.
Do you think you would have, if obviously that bus hadn't have crashed, do you think you would have done the marathon and all the other stuff that followed and the 5k and the 10k?
On what grounds? On like a rehabilitation level?
No, just as
in general.
Just in general,
Yeah.
you were that sort of person. Yeah.
I would have definitely like just. It might not have been focusing on like marathons or running.
It would have been sporty kind of,
but
adventure.
Them kind of things, and still the same kind of things. Traveling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's even better that you're still being the same person that you were prior to the
I think I
injury.
would have ended up living in the jungle somewhere, like in the Amazon, with the shamans at like 25. You know what I mean? Unfortunately, that didn't happen. But you know,
we've got
the dream's not gone. It's still there.
We've got an episode coming out tomorrow. Actually, well, it's when you listen to this, it'll be different. But with Ash Dykes, who that she did this similar sort of thing. Just lived in like Thailand in some Burmese like.
Yeah, jungles.
Jungle, yeah.
Went to like Madagascar and stuff and like cutting down fucking jungles and getting held up at gunpoint and all crazy shit. Yeah.
See, I love that. I live for that kind of stuff. You know, so not the gunpoint bit. But Madagascar sounds good though.
Yeah.
So did you have to kind of get special like thing from the London Marathon or something? Was it like you have to say this is what we're attempting and all this?
Yeah. We had to like they knew about it. We had to, but I wanted to start first, but I didn't. They wouldn't let me start first because it's on a much bigger scale than the Liverpool half marathon is. So they were just like, for health and safety, like we don't really want like a whole marathon's worth of people flooding past you. So I started it just as like there was still other people when I started, but like the main crowd had gone. So we kind of just done it on our own. It was a little bit like Chinese water torture in the end of the marathon, to be honest. It was just like, oh my God, like how much
it's horrible, innit?
I was like, this isn't 2 half marathons, this is bigger.
said that fucking loads, mate. It's people just think it's double. It's not. It's fucking horrible.
Look, 26.2 miles is a perfectly straight line from the centre point of the start to the finish. You know what I mean? And you're not going to do that. So in the end, my marathon was 29 miles.
Really?
Yeah, because we were over there. Like the roads got closed at one point. Sorry, the roads got reopened at one point. We ended up in a shopping centre at one point because we were in this tunnel. We were in this tunnel, right? And we had to get up to like the next level, but the cars were coming down now at this point. We couldn't just walk up there. So we end up in the shopping centre. I've ended up in this lift with the security fella in the lift, and I'm like, that keep them warm in the lift, trying to not go cold. And the fella's thinking like, oh my God, what a nut! I had my marathon badge on. We all had the same number on as well. So like, it's a bit of a thing doing the marathon. Like they have places, don't they? So like, if you don't get a place, supposedly you can't do it. So we only had one place, and the night before I got someone to photocopy, to scan the same number. So like we're all in the lift in the same number and that, as if we're all doing it. It was funny, you know. Anyway, that got done in 11 hours 45 minutes.
It was you fucked after it?
Yeah, I was drained. I was really drained, and like there was a bit of like media and stuff that came off the back of that, and like I had to like peel myself out of bed and to like less than 24 hours later to then go and like do an interview that was filmed and whatever, and it was on the telly, and it was like, I don't know, I think I did well at the time really in the interview, but and just to give a bit of background of what was going on, like I was in a bad way, you know.
Yeah.
Not in a bad way, but I was really drained. And I can, just down to my spinal cord injury, I can get sick, you know, if I push my body too hard.
Yeah.
There was loads of times training for that marathon. I did a half marathon in Yosemite Park as training for that marathon. And I got really sick afterwards.
Or just like your immune system and stuff by pushing it too much, or?
Yeah, I get like water infections sometimes, and then what happens then is that sparks my nerve pain. So I get neuropathic pain as a result of my spinal cord injury, and so it's like electric shocks in my legs, and it's pretty heavy at times. It's only heavy when I'm sick, so I need to avoid getting sick like anything. But I think I was just that hell-bent on doing this marathon. It was like a matter of life and death to me. Nothing else mattered for those years leading up to it.
Mate, our stories are so similar, mate. So when I got injured, mate, I fucking lost my fucking balls in the blast, fucking, and I got blown up. Thankfully I went on and I've got my little girl and stuff, it all worked out in the end. But for me, one of the lasting impacts of that is I have to have a testosterone injection every 12 weeks. And you know, you talk about how your body works. When my testosterone levels are low and I need that, I find me like for example, if I got like a little cut on my stump or something, like an infection, like my body starts breaking down, I feel weak. So one of the reasons as well I love to keep fit now is if my like immune system goes low, like my testosterone, I just get fucking dead sick and just like feel weak, and just little things like, it's just mad how your body works, isn't it? Like for you, like you can't push yourself too much, and for me I need to keep on top of those injections, and it's like
you have to be careful, don't you?
It's little things of knowing yourself to push it, but then not to push too fuck, just knowing your own body, I guess.
So so that was what was kind of going on after the marathon, and I'd cut all my feet as well. You should have seen me sock, because I had a white sports sock on. And,
filled with blood.
It was like just full of blood, and I must have just been that in the zone at the time. I just wasn't gonna stop, and I did feel that there was a bit of bother going on down there. I didn't really want to look at the time, but I knew something was wrong. But yeah, it kind of just was what it was at the time. We were just going to keep cracking on until we got to the end.
Was it mentally or physically tougher?
Mentally.
Yeah,
definitely. Yeah, the mental part of it.
Mate, the marathon, mate, you've got
so long.
I've never done a marathon to do one.
Honestly, mate, whether you're able-bodied or
on a big Arctic expedition.
It's okay whether you're injured, you're not injured, mate. The marathon's fucking disgusting. It's like, it's fucking hot. I love running, but that marathon was fucking...
Have you done that since your injury?
Yeah.
Have you? Yeah.
Oh, mate, it's fucking hot. I'd never done any running like that until I lost my leg. Done like triathlons and 5Ks, 10Ks, half marathons. But the marathon, mate, was fucking disgusting. I fucking hated every second of it, mate. It was horrible.
It's boss that you've done.
It was, but it's just, when you were describing it, I felt the same. It was just fucking so hard, like.
Yeah.
Just walk. I was flying at the start, and I got to mile like 17, and then I was on for a 3.5 hour marathon. Then I ended up doing it like 4:20 in the end, and I went from doing like 8-minute miles to like 14-minute miles. Because I was just walking for 50 metres, running 50 metres. It was fucking disgusting. It was fucking horrible.
It was rained.
Yeah.
It must help. Does it help though? Obviously, like people on the crowd, that sort of thing. More,
it did when you got into town.
Yeah,
it did when you got into town. But there's bits of it where there's hardly anyone there.
Yeah.
And you just,
I everyone else had gone really, so it was just me and my mates. It was hilarious though, because by the end of it, everyone else was finished well more than I was, because like I'd trained for it ultimately. I basically outwalked everyone on the day, you know what I mean? Everyone was finished and emotionally wrecked.
What, like your support team,
my
like
mates and that, because we just said like, just come and walk with me. We just walk it. It's it's sound.
Yeah.
We just walk a marathon as if it's like didn't really weigh it up.
It's 20.
Like by like 20 miles in, there's another 5 to go.
Got a funny story there for you know.
6.
So my mate Robbo, he got a little boy, and this little boy was born with a birth deficiency in his right leg, so he ended up having his leg amputated. So I put on a charity event for my 30th, rather than having a big birthday party. I put on a charity do. And we raised like 25 grand for his little boy, you know, to get like prosthetic legs and stuff. But one of the things we done is we said we walk the length of the Leeds-Liverpool Canal. So I got like loads of my mates together, and we all walked it. And again, I was like, it's 126 miles, 127. I said, we'll just walk it. We'll do 30 miles a day, just a marathon a day for 5 days. You know, it'll be sound. It's fucking walking. It's, you know what I mean? It's not hard. Oh my God. The first day, like about 10 of us, all like young fit lads, and you're only walking, we were all wrote off. Mate, by the end of the week, one of the lads was in hospital, had infected blisters. like we were all just broken men, and you think it's walking, it's easy walking.
It's tough though, isn't it?
It's fucking hard.
Like, that's why I said the mental side of things was probably worse, because it was just like, when is this gonna stop?
Yeah,
honestly,
it's just a lot. It's just a long
so
distance.
big. Mad.
Did you after that then? Did you plan in your head, like, I suppose the question is always what's next, really,
I was
isn't
a bit
it?
lost after that.
Really, yeah.
Yeah. I was a bit lost. So what ended up happening was, okay, so at this point I got a little bit like, this training thing I was doing in Cambridge non-stop got a bit repetitive. So somewhere around the half marathon mark in this journey, when we hit that milestone, I decided to leave Cambridge. So I'd fell in love with Barcelona like a few years before, and at that point I was like going on holiday there a few times a year, and like going there with my dad and saying, like, what do you think about this? And I just had a really good feeling when I was there. Felt good within myself. And I think one day, I don't know, something just hit me, and I was like, go and check it out, go and try and like do what you've done in Cambridge, but there. Because Andy had told me about a physio in Barcelona, and I was like, okay, this is my favourite place in the world, and maybe I can do my same programme out there. So I decided to give it a shot. Did the same thing, apartment, 6 months, see what happens. Ended up just like being in the best place mentally. Like it was like Cambridge was the physical recovery, and then moving to Barcelona was all the mental recovery. Like whatever I was expecting from a life out there, whatever I was hoping for, like it was 10 times better. Yeah. So I just found a life out there.
What was it then? Just the weather, the like way of life?
Yeah, it's the weather, it's the lifestyle, it's the culture, you know. It's basically got everything that I'm looking for in a city. So I've been doing the same training program out there, but it's not the same level because I'm not working with Andy now. So the quality of the physio, like it dropped a lot. What then happened though was I started, before I moved out there, I'd started getting into swimming. I started to compete in swimming. Football was always my sport growing up, but obviously after my injury I can't play football anymore. So I tried all sorts of different sports. I was like doing like wheelchair basketball at one point and wheelchair handball, because that was the closest thing to footy. You know, you'd have a keeper and a goal and throw the ball in the net.
Yeah.
It's not like basketball. So, but there's no team. You can't compete at on a professional level, let's call it, or at the Paralympics in handball. So I was like, okay, well, what am I going to do? Because I need a sport. And I was doing a lot of rehab work in the water at the time. So naturally, I just started to feel good in the water. And I remember I used to think, you know, when I'm in the water, this is an opportunity to be out of the wheelchair and feel how things used to feel beforehand. Like I felt free. I just felt like the way I used to feel. So
you turned into a fish.
So I turned into a fish, yeah. Basically, I grew scales and everything, and then that, yeah. So things have started to excel now in that sport, in swimming. So I started. We contacted British Swimming and arranged, like, they call it a classification. So they'll classify you on your level of physical impairment that you've got, and then you compete within those different classifications. So they got me classified and I started competing. But then, like, I'd been training in Cambridge for ages at this point, so I was quite fit. So I started competing in swimming, and then, like, I was winning me things. They were only like regional events at this point, but like I was like a bit like, well, I was alright there, I'll go and do another one. And it was great as well, because remember before I said I put on so much weight. I was like a balloon. And swimming was the best form of cardio training that I could find at that point, and I really needed to lose all this. So I started getting into swimming. I started competing in swimming. Was doing well, and I ended up qualifying for the national championships, and went to the national championships and left with a gold medal in the 50-metre freestyle. So
wow.
I remember leaving with that and thinking, like, you know, it might be worth exploring this a little bit. So, but it was still always a side job. Leading up to the marathon was my focus. And whenever like a national competition had come round, I'd just go and do it, but with like 2 weeks training. You know what I mean? Or like 4 weeks training at best. 4 weeks like swim specific training. So ultimately what ended up happening after the marathon, I had this like little swimming side job at this point. I smashed the marathon, felt amazing after that. So I was full of confidence at this point. And at this point I'd started qualifying for like international level. So there's an international competition that comes around once a year in Sheffield or Glasgow. And I was thinking to myself, what am I going to do now after the marathon? What's next? I always felt really secluded in the sport of swimming because it was always a side job. I used to just turn up, do it and go home, so I wasn't really in the scene. But I was hitting good times. I was hitting times that were worthy of British swimming taking a proper look at, you know what I mean? So there's a really well-known para swimmer called Ellie Simmonds, who, like, everyone on the swimming scene knows who Ellie Simmonds is. So she's like multi-gold medal, world record holding, like British sporting icon kind of thing, you know.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
it's like, so I saw her coach, and I just decided to approach him basically. And so I went up to him and I said, look, if you got a minute, can I speak to you, please? I said, look, I've just done a 50-metre free in 35.3 seconds. I haven't got a coach. I just kind of turned up. I've just hit this time in the 53. I need a coach. I need a bit of guidance in this sport because I think I can go somewhere in this sport. So Billy said to me that's the coach's name, Billy. So Billy said to me, right, okay, cool, let's take a look at you. So Billy came out to Barcelona. That's where my swimming program is now. So I've ended up staying in Barcelona. I've got a top swimming program in Barca. He ended up coming out, taking a look at me. And then one thing led to another, and I ended up training with him and Ellie in the London Aquatic Centre. So that's the Olympic Centre in London. So I've ended up doing these like high-end training sessions, you know. It's when I'm training in there, it's just unbelievable. So my focus now is swimming. So we finished the marathon, and like you said, what was next? For 6 months I was really lost. I didn't really know what to do, and I just decided to give that a shot. I was lucky enough to make a connection with the right people, good people, you know what I mean?
So is that why you're still in Barca now then? You still got that going now?
I've got that going in Barca. I'm swimming full time in Barca now.
Really, yeah?
Yeah, I'm putting in like, before the lockdown happened, I just got me break as well on the proper international scene. So I just got me international licence. So I was set to compete in Italy, Germany, the UK, Singapore, and
quality,
Brazil.
isn't it? Yeah.
So I was just about to hit like world sport scene, you know.
And what are your times like compared to others in your...
Me 100 metre freeze ended up being my strongest one so far. Me 100 metre free is quite strong. Me 100 metre free is... what did I hit? Oh my god, I can't believe it's gone.
With regards to others in your classification, how are you getting on with them on the world stage and stuff? You're like in the mix with it, or because obviously you're relatively new to it, aren't you?
I'm relatively new, yeah. So there's like, I'm up there, but I'm not elite. Right now, I'm not Team GB right now because the level of Team GB is just so high. But I'm development program level. You know what I mean? So I'm in talks with the performance pathway manager from Team GB regularly, and they're shaping up to kind of get me structured for Paris 2024.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah.
Fucking
Very
hell.
quality
So that's 4 years away from now.
Of course, are they going to keep the because obviously it was meant to be Tokyo this year, wasn't it?
It was meant to be Tokyo, yeah. So I wouldn't have quite made that. I would if I had a different nationality. You know, I'm beating a lot of other guys with different nationalities.
Imagine, yeah.
Like if I had an Irish passport, I'd be going to Tokyo really at this point. But unfortunately, I haven't.
Basically, we can do that.
Basically, yeah.
So that is the goal now. Then that's your kind of full-time focus.
I think so. But this is a thing that I'm struggling with. So what I'm struggling with now, what I'm always trying to find, is this balance between me recovery. I want to get off the sticks too. You know, I'm still walking on crutches, but I want to progress away from them, and I believe I can. But I'm not sure if it's possible if I'm trying to hit the elite level in swimming.
Oh, yeah,
you know what I mean? It's two different programs, really.
Yeah, two separate.
So I've got options. I think at this point, I'm thinking, do I want to stick with the swimming full time, 4 years, 4 year focus? Because that's what the marathon was. It was a 4 year focus.
And how old are you now?
29.
You're a young guy, aren't you?
So you get people competing at the top level in that sport until they're 38. You know,
Okay, yeah.
38, 39. And what you've got to remember as well is training methods are evolving and recovery methods are evolving. You know, it's people are going longer these days.
Of course,
you know. So I'd be 34 by the time Paris comes around. So I think it's possible. And I would love to do it, but at the same time, I don't think I'll get off the sticks if I do that.
It's hard. It's difficult, like, isn't it? What
so
a difficult,
I'm
how
much juggle.
How much the crutches piss you off?
They don't really piss me off, but they do sometimes. It's not the crutches that piss me off, the physical crutches. It's the strength of me legs. I know they can be stronger.
I
know when I'm getting up off the chair or sitting back down, I know I can have more control in my legs, you know?
I know it sounds like a stupid question, and the obvious answer is no, but is there anything surgical that they can do, or anything that might be in the timeline of future years where they can repair that spinal cord, or is there just no chance?
Yeah, potentially. So there's various experiments that are going on now. In terms of, I mean, options I've had so far has been like to go to America. I've spent quite a bit of time training with specialists in America now, so I've met doctors out there and stuff who have said that they will administer human growth hormone and then put me on a program, and this and not only HGH but other different types of things in that family which may be more suitable to my situation. So that's an avenue that I'd be interested in. However, I've been told that you can't compete in top level sport.
Oh, if you have that.
If you've had that.
Like I was saying before about my testosterone, I can't. I'd have to say that if I ever got involved in sport, because it's classed as.
Yeah.
What was the thing you want to say?
I was going to say stem cells. Have you ever heard of stem cells?
Yeah.
So there's a few countries that you can go to now and get stem cell therapy. So I've thought about that. Andy tells me, we haven't had the chat for a while, but previously Andy said, chill on the stem cell thing for now, because there's not enough evidence to suggest at this point, that maybe when you're 40 or you're 50, something might go a little bit wrong.
Yeah.
We just don't. I think he's just being safe and sorry, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But I'm open to it all. Of course I am. With regards to what you said about physically getting in the spinal cord, there is a foundation at the moment called, it's gone, it might come to me in a minute, and what the Nichols Foundation are experimenting with at the moment is they're going in through the back of people's brains, right? BBC done a panorama on this a couple of years ago, and to me, I think like they found the cure, but I'm just not sure when it's going to be available.
Right.
So what's happened is they're going in, they're getting what's called your olfactory bulbs, I believe that's what it's called, which is something inside, it's cells in your nose, and only your nose can produce these cells, and these are the only cells in the human body that are capable of completely 100% regenerating. Well, I'm not a scientist fully, so like regenerating whatever
cells
quality of cells that's going on in there.
How the fuck have they found that out?
So they're the only ones. They're the only ones in the body. So what they've started doing now is they've extracted the cells, these olfactory bulbs, from the nose, but how they do it is they have to go in through the back of your head. They extract these cells, and then they place them in the injured site of the spinal cord. So wherever the person's, whatever vertebrae the break was, wherever the damage is, they're placing them in there. And then over a period of time, the idea was to see if they can regenerate the damaged area of the spinal cord. And there's a guy from Poland who was the first trial. Sorry, they tried it on rats first. I believe rats, dogs and humans have got a very similar nervous system. So that's
why they always do rats.
That's how they experiment. Yeah, they have like stage 1 is rats, stage 2 was dogs, and stage 3 was humans. So it was success. All the trials, all the experiments were successful in stage 1 in the rats. In the dogs, they were too. So then it was time to try on a human, and he tried on one. Situation with him is a Polish guy. Somebody stabbed him in the back and sliced his whole spinal cord. So remember, mine was incompletely severed.
Yeah.
That means I still had a few strands that were working because I still had the sensation, remember? But he didn't have any of that. So he had literally the worst one. It was a complete severance. And they've put these olfactory bulbs in his spinal cord. And long story short, he started to regain function and sensation. And this was a couple of years ago when BBC done a panorama on this. So it looks like they've got it, that they've cracked it, because that when it's a complete severance at that point,
there's nothing there, is there?
That's when there's nothing.
Wow.
So and he's like, they show him in the gym like doing like the leg press and the leg extension and rebuilding these muscles. So it looks like something's gonna come, but it's just a matter of time when.
Yeah.
In the meantime, I've got options to do these stem cell or human growth hormones.
You imagine where science will be in, where it's come in the last 20 years and to where it will be in the next 20 years when you're 49. It's incredible.
That's one thing I was hoping, and they probably will do in years to come, but when obviously I got told I'd never be able to have kids, I was hoping that they'd be able to like get like a bit of like skin DNA and then make that into then like sperm. Like they've got ways to do that now. I think that's in the very early stage and stuff like that, and you just think like, it's mad to think
happening.
When did IVF come about? That was only quite recent, isn't it?
80s, I think.
Or was it 80s actually? Yeah.
No, a bit early, I think.
Was it really? Yeah. Yeah, it's mad.
I don't know, actually. I don't know.
I remember reading something that it said by the time, obviously you're 29, I'm 27, you're early 30s, aren't you? By the time we're 90, people will be living to 160.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Would you want to though?
Well, it's a good question.
Depends what kind of nick you're in, doesn't it? If you're in good nick and you're 125, why not?
How old are you? 125. But you think how far science will go in the next, 50 years? 50, 60 years? Like, where it's come, since 60 years gone by.
Like technology and science, I think. Did you see a thing saying that in, I think it was 2019 alone? More photos got taken in 2019 than they did in any other year.
The entire history of mankind.
Yeah. More photos were taken in 2019 than any other time.
It's mad, that, isn't it?
How the fuck is that a thing?
Yeah, it's that happened.
Mate, you're not exactly like fucking keeping still either now, though. Obviously, you've got the swimming, and then the exciting potential about you improving your walking, and then you were fucking up Snowdon last weekend as well.
That's funny, that one, because I didn't tell anyone about it, and a few people said, "Lad, I've just put Twitter on, and you're on the top of Snowdon like that." So it was like,
how was that?
There's a story behind that, though. There's a reason why we did that. I mean, that was amazing. That was potentially the best day I've ever had since the injury.
Really?
Well, look, it was bittersweet because of the reason why we did it. We did it in memory of a close friend of ours who just passed away, and one of the last big things in his life that he did.
This was Mark who spoke about this.
Yeah. Was Snowdon. The lads got him to the top of Snowdon in the remember the trike I was telling you about before. So Jay had a trike, and it was like supposedly this big, monumental day in their lives when they went there. It was like a huge epic day for them. Got Jay right to the top, and then unfortunately a few weeks ago Jay has passed away. So his brother and his mates wanted to go and relive this in his memory. They wanted to go and climb Snowdon. I was in Barcelona doing the lockdown at the time, and the borders were closed. And then when he started to reopen, it was just a bit supposedly a bit difficult to get home and whatever. I missed Jay's funeral, and I felt a bit guilty about that. I wasn't really cool with myself about that, and I knew that the lads were going to do Snowdon, and I thought to myself, okay, well, maybe you can try and give it a shot. At this point though, I mean, I'd never done Snowdon before. I had no idea I just knew it was a huge mountain. It's the biggest mountain in Wales. I think it's the second biggest in the UK, behind Ben Nevis.
Yeah.
So I was really nervous leading up to it, and for that reason I didn't tell anyone about it. And I was phoning people all the time and just getting advice and just saying like, look, am I biting off too much? Am I biting off a bit much here, more than I can chew? And people were like, just come down, we'll get you up at the end of the day. And I was like, but I don't want anyone to get me up. You know what I mean? If somebody has to get me up, I won't be happy with myself. So I don't know if it's worth turning up. But ultimately, when I was like weighing all this up in my head for like the 2 weeks before, and like especially the few days before, I just thought to myself, you know what, if you don't at least turn up and try, then you're not going to be cool with yourself. Like in my own head, I just felt like I'm not going to be okay with myself if I don't turn up and try. And it wasn't for my own like achievement thinking this, like I've done Snowdon. It was for the fact that it was for Jay.
Mate, it's fucking, mate, the reasons obviously why you're doing it's amazing, but and then the fact that you've got up there, man, it's incredible.
Yeah, we kind of did fly up there, really. You know what? In the first,
which path did you go up?
The Lamberis path.
Yeah.
So the first half.
So it's just flat for a long way, isn't it?
You know what? That's what I was expecting, but it wasn't. The first half was like, I mean, first and foremost, you're constantly going up,
Yeah.
aren't you? Because people kept saying, like, at times, it gets better over there, like, it's going to level out.
Yeah.
It goes down. People saying it goes down, and I was like, oh, yes, sound, I can't wait for that. And we get round the corner, and it just go up again.
Yeah.
And ultimately, by the time we ended up at the top, we were like, well, it was never going down, was it? You know what I mean? So,
I'm just going to get the video up here.
is this recorded? Is it? Is this?
This will all go on YouTube.
podcast?
Yeah, this will all go on YouTube.
Yeah.
Nice.
Uh,
So we've got some.
shall I go shall I go on Snowdon there?
Yeah, there's nothing on that though. That's
Right.
just a profile picture on there. I'll take you through them now though. Just leave that top one till last.
This one.
No, on the left. Don't
Yeah.
touch that one until the end.
All right.
That's the best bit. So
Might have to log it. Give me a sec.
So how many people were up there? It looked like there was a good few.
yeah, well, I don't know. There was quite a lot. I went down there early, so I planned it. I thought, right, I'm going to be slower than everyone else. So I went down about 3 hours early. I had about an hour of faffing about that other people probably didn't have as well. Like, I had to bandage all my feet up. No, because my feet were all cut after the marathon.
Of course, yeah.
So I bandaged all my feet up. Just got them nice and secure. And then I'd had a few other like bits of faffing to do. Made sure that we had like enough nutrition and stuff.
Mm.
And then I wanted to stretch and get warm and all that. And then we started it. And the first part of it, right, before you even hit the mountain, it's just a path, like a road, but it just goes like that. It's just completely vertical. I remember doing it for like 5 minutes and just thinking to myself, oh my God, what am I in for here? And luckily enough, that faded out, that part. And we ended up, you know what? We missed the first turn to the Lambetta's path. Because I remember, at this point, this is just me and my dad, because we went down early.
Yeah.
So we're just on this road thing, and I thought it was just going to be a little bit like, you know, a bit easy here, a bit easy there. Like, we're going up, but steadily.
Yeah.
So we get to this gate, and like loads of other people turn left at this gate, but at that point it's like all rocky, horrible terrain, dead steep. Like, didn't look like my cup of tea at all.
Yeah.
And so we missed it. We carried on going straight for like another like half a mile, and then eventually we got to a sign that said like, stop, you can't reach the summit past this point. So we were like, hang on a minute, this isn't the it wasn't that thing over there, was it, that we just walked past? My dad was like, no, I seen it, no way. And he said it was called something else. Anyway, it turns out that was the route we were supposed to take.
Oh, jeez.
So we got there, and I've just thought, oh my God. But then we just attacked it. So we split it up into 2 sections. There's like a halfway house half the way up Snowdon, up this Lambetta's path. So the plan was to get to there and then have some food, wait, stay warm, and wait for everyone else to catch us up. We timed it perfect. It was like one of them days, you know, when everything just falls into place.
Yeah.
Everything just worked. So we're waiting at the halfway house, and the lads turn up. We took a few photos and that, and then we started the second half, and everyone goes like, right, this is where it gets hard. At this point, this is where it gets really hard. And it did. It just changed completely, and particularly like the last third of the mountain. It was just so vertical and steep, and like it was like my crutches were slipping everywhere. I had to take the rubber things off the bottom so they stuck into the floor more. And was just like, you know what? It was more upper body than my legs in the end. I was like, we were laughing our heads off saying I'm dipping up Snowdon, you know, like a tricep dip on the stick, just going whoosh, whoosh, and just like hopped all the way up there. It was funny as well, look, because like I was saying, like people would say like, you know, it gets a bit better over there, and it just didn't. But it was just one of them days, like it was just like really in the zone.
Can I play this video, mate?
Yeah, so that's Jay finishing it.
Ah, right, okay.
So that's
right.
Jay next to...
And this was last year, was it? Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, Mark was saying after he said like not to do it and that, didn't he? And he managed to do it.
Yeah.
It's amazing, that,
Quality that, isn't it?
Yeah. Sick, innit? So if you go right there, 1 sec, go back, and that's a slide, that post.
Go back, yeah.
Look, slide to the right on that post. You see that right? Go
Just
left.
there?
No.
Oh yeah, sorry.
That one.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
So that's the same thing. What is that?
Amazing. That's brilliant, that, lad.
Quality that, innit?
So how do you know Mark then?
How do I know Mark? He initially used to coach me in Calbon.
Oh really?
He was
Yeah.
a coaching there,
Yeah,
and a
yeah.
fighter, wasn't he? So I used to train there when I was younger, before the crash. And then after that, I just always thought that he was following me story on Instagram and whatever. He was just always like just
support or
a little bit of support, little comments, just going through the motions. And then I did a big I did a fundraising campaign leading up to the marathon to support other people with spinal cord injuries for a foundation. I work with and represent now a spinal cord injury foundation called the Root Bright Spinal Trust, who are based in London, well, in Cambridge, just outside. So they work hand in hand with spinal research, and you know it's beautiful what they do. So I raised money for them through the marathon campaign, and like Scano donated to Mark, like give us a donation and whatever, and you know he's just always been a bit of a figure who's kind of
supported you along the way.
Yeah. So I think ultimately,
it's nice how it's all
we've just ended up being.
Yeah, it's just nice, yeah, man. How you've ended up there and that's supportive,
yeah. So I ended up making more of a connection through Jay. So Jay, who we did we climbed Snowdon in memory of. Jay had a spinal cord injury too a few years after me, and a few of the lads from Liverpool contacted me and said, like, you know, can you speak to our mate? So I introduced Jay to Prime Physio in Cambridge, and Jay was going down there, training there regularly and making really good progress. You know, he was in a much better place physically and mentally. And Mark sometimes would go down there with Jay, so we'd like meet up and go for food and whatever. And then obviously we've developed a connection through that.
What happened with Jay? Mark did say, I think last time, but what happened with Jay? How did he get that injury?
I think it was a car crash.
Was it? Yeah.
I think it was a car crash. Yeah. So we've ended up. Okay, so we've climbed Snowdon at this point. We're at the top of Snowdon, and it's like this big emotional. Like, I can't explain the energy that I felt from the mountain, the scenery, and the people, and the reason what it was for. You know, it was a special. Honestly, I made friends for life in one day. You know, one of them days, it's like really, really special.
I think you put that on your Instagram thing.
Yeah,
you did a story when you were driving away, I think.
Yeah, it was special. So, so we're all really full of energy at this point, and we're on the top of Snowdon. We take all these amazing photos, and then at this point it gets windy. So I've went like I've started to. My body has just been focused and working for like pretty much 6 hours, climbing up a mountain, and then it's windy and I've stopped. So you know when you go cold, and all my muscles just seized up, all my traps. You know, 'cause I've been doing the sticks. All my traps like really seized up, my back, and particularly my legs. My right leg was like a baseball bat. We were saying we were walking on a baseball bat because it wouldn't bend. You know what I mean? My left leg was still bending a bit. My right leg just would not bend. And
it's not what you need when you're at the top of a mountain. Like.
Exactly. and you've missed the last train back as well. So we missed the last train back, and we're at the top of this mountain, and it was like started to get a little bit like little bit worrying. So I've started taking steps down, and we've started the descent at this point. Every time I take a step down, the pressure, because I'm like jumping down rocks at this point, and every single time my knees were just going smash, and like I was really concerned about my knees beforehand. Like I was on the phone to Andy for days before it, saying like, yeah or no, like it's your call. And ultimately it was his call. Andy said, my heart says go and do it. So we did. Anyway, my knees are being wrecked, and I remember like I was walking downhill for like 20 minutes, and I remember I like being really concerned, and I was thinking to myself, I'm gonna cause myself damage here at this point, you know what I mean? Go another 5 hours back down, smashing my knees every time at this point when I'm just finished. And I thought, I didn't say it, but I thought to myself, right, I'll give it another 10 minutes, and I think I'm gonna have to phone like for a helicopter to come and rescue me from this
Fucking
mountain.
hell, really?
I have to phone for an emergency service, because if not, like I'm in a bad way. Snowdon is massive, so yeah, it was a bit of an emergency situation. But I just didn't say that I was thinking that at that point. And then 10 minutes later, one of the lads, Paddy, goes, right, listen boys, I've got this idea, right, it might be the best idea ever. I had it 20 minutes ago, but I thought everyone might start buzzing off me. I thought everyone's going to laugh at me, so I had to go and speak to Scott and get Scott's opinion on it first before I told you about it. And everyone's been laughing, because we were just laughing our heads off from start to finish anyway. So he said, look, I've got this wacky idea. Do you want to try it or not? Scott told me to tell you about it, basically. And we went, yeah, come on, we'll try anything at this point. And he went, right, okay, 3 years, take your backpack off. And we went, like, looked at each other a little bit as if to think, like, what's he? What? Take your backpack off. Go on then, all right. And he said, put them on the floor. So we put 3 backpacks on the floor, and he said, right, Zach, you sit down. So I sit down, and he says, put one backpack under his bum, one under his legs, and one under his back, and put it like horizontally.
Yeah.
So there's an arm on each bag either side. And
I was wondering when I saw that photo as well, what the fuck I feel like.
Yeah, there's an arm on each side, and he said, and then every one of the lads grab an arm, and then on 3, 1, 2, 3, and the lads have lifted the bags up, and I've just went like, oh my god, like that, just like the biggest feeling of relief.
But walking down going down the railway bit.
Going down the railway bit at this point. Yeah, so we smashed it.
Yeah, you wouldn't have been able to do that down the normal route down.
No. So it was amazing what happened. So what then happened was 20 minutes later of them bringing me down on this like makeshift stretcher that we've just done. The lads' hands are killing at this point, so there's loads of pressure in the bags going through their hands, and they're stopping and dropping me and switching over. And then one of our mates, Becky says, give me them crutches. Give me his crutches, please. And she says, thread one crutch down that end through the arms of the bags, and thread the other crutch down that side through the arms of the bags, and see if it's any better. So we threaded them through. And then they've went, it's okay, like 1, 2, 3, picked it up, and all the weight distribution just went like, just perfectly even, and the lads were like, oh my god, like that's nothing. Yeah. They were like, come here, let's go. And they just
amazing,
flew me down in this makeshift stretcher.
So what, did someone have to go and get the car or something, did they, and then meet it at, because that comes out at different end, doesn't it?
It just comes out at the railway track, so that's pretty close to where
where you started.
To where we started, yeah. And
let me just quickly, I haven't watched this, so... Fucking hell.
Just flew me down, and honestly, that potentially saved my knees, like from like serious long-lasting damage. I've lost a lot of muscle around my knees now anyway, you know, so they are vulnerable, and I do think that I would have done something bad to my body. It was just one of them days, like real like teamwork and togetherness, you know, like we were just all in it together. And they all said, like, look, like you just go to sleep now. If you can get up there, we'll get you down.
Yeah, exactly.
Like that. And it was just one of them. It was like
incredible.
It was unbelievable. Yeah,
incredible.
Mate, it's from listening to the fucking horrific, heartbreaking story where it starts to that, mate. It's fucking so inspirational, mate, and it just gives hope to just people of everywhere. Just that, it's blown me away, mate. The story is just incredible, mate. It's what you've achieved, and like you say, just hope. That's probably the biggest word that comes to mind when I think of your story and what it's made me feel like. Is you just got to be hopeful, and when you set your mind to things, and the big one there is surrounding yourself by good people. There's no limit to where you can go, is there?
Yeah, exactly. I've been really lucky in that capacity as well I've had an amazing support network, you know, me friends and me family, and everyone's just been by my side all the way through it. I think that's really important, isn't it?
Yeah, that's awesome, mate.
And to think, like, 2012, 8 years, what you've achieved in that time period as well, and literally just mirroring what Andy's just said, that hope, and that, if you'd have listened to those doctors in Southport, where these 8 years would have maybe changed, maybe ended up a little bit different, but I mean, look, we started talking at 5:30. It's fucking 8 o'clock.
Is it?
2.5 hours, mate.
Yeah, sorry. My mate says that to me all the time. He says, get to the good bit. He says, short story long, yeah.
Zach, mate, it's been I feel privileged, mate, to have been in your company for a couple of hours, mate. It's and I'm sure we'll hopefully do a crazy challenge or something together, mate, in the future.
Man, seriously, let's do it.
It's been awesome, mate, and I'm sure
like
anyone who's listened as well, mate, will feel the same, and we'll want to, we'll realise how lucky I feel to have been in your company, mate.
Yeah, no, thank you, mate. Anything you want to plug, say?
I probably just want to plug, like, ultimately, what's going on now with all of this is my work with the foundation, the Root Price Spinal Trust. I want to raise awareness about that and what they do. If and when I am going to be doing challenges, I will be raising funds for the Root Price Spinal Trust to support other people to go to Cambridge and to have that opportunity that I was fortunate enough to have, so other people don't get them opportunities. And what we're doing at the RST, Root Price Spinal Trust, we are giving people these opportunities on a regular basis. So, if people are listening to this who are interested in what we're doing and want to support it or back it in any way, then to either get in touch or to just follow what we're doing, and support it.
What's your Instagram? Is it just Zach and then?
Yeah, my Instagram is Zach WY, ZACH_WY. So if anyone wants to follow that and check out what we're getting up to, we're going to be doing more challenges like this over the years to come.
Mate, and like I say, mate, the content's inspiring and it's awesome, mate. So yeah, give them a follow and
thanks. Thank you, mate.
Thanks again, mate.
Really appreciate it. Yeah.
Thank you very much, guys, for having me. That's been a pleasure.
No, thank you, mate.
And that's for the marathon. Boom.